So welcome. We're joined this evening by Tania. Tania, thank you so much for joining us. And we're looking forward to your presentation next year at the NLP conference. So perhaps you'd like to start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your presentation, which is entitled A New, Simple and Effective Model for Working with Parts.
Yes, I spent ages working out that title.
Brilliant. It's very, I'm curious.
Simple, just straight to the point. A little bit about me then. What I would say, from being a very young child, I've had a huge interest in self-help and development. So even as a child, I was reading all these books, and I hypnotized my first person at 18. And you know, maybe I should have thought it strange there was all hypnosis books around the house. I didn't realize my father was a hypnotherapist prior, you know.
Right.
Yes, I think in the 50s. So, you know.
It's in the blood then.
Yeah, definitely in the blood. And my mother had panic attacks. So we had all these books on how to cure yourself of panic attacks, you know, in an era when I don't think there was a lot of stuff out there. So, you know, that really kind of developed my interest, and I absolutely love helping people. So, you know, it goes down that line. So I went to university, got myself a chemistry degree, as you do, because who doesn't want one of them, eh?
Mine's genetics, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite good to have, not a great time. I came out, I did 1 year as a microbiologist, realized that wasn't for me, still bear the scar of that. Yeah, definitely not for me. The universe told me so.
Yeah.
Then I went into show business for 10 years.
Well, that's an interesting turnaround.
You know, I think part of that was because I'd been shy as a child. And sometimes when you have these issues, it creates a drive in you to clear them. You know, and actually, you know, someone who's shy as a child, you can actually be, what would I say? You can have a problem, such as fear of public speaking, and yet you can be very confident as well. So you're getting triggered, basically. Yeah. So that was kind of me. I don't really think, you know, deep inside, I think I like to be the center of attention. Don't have a problem with it, you know. Although I'm also quite happy to stand back as well if I'm with a team. So, you know, whatever works for the situation. So, yeah, I went into show business for 10 years, did all of that. And then when I came out, I thought, what do I really want to do with my life right now? Because, you know, you have to kind of put yourself on the path of purpose. What's your purpose? You know, and I went back to the fact I've always liked helping people. And that's very, very, very important to me. So I was thinking whether to become an acupuncturist or a hypnotherapist. I chose hypnotherapy. Yeah, because obviously my dad had been there, and I had very young children at the time, babies, in fact. So I trained in that. And I think I was an easy touch for these trainers because they knew what to say to me to make me go on the next training course. It was quite easy. You know, I'm sure some of them were using NLP on me to do that. And I have no problem with that because I'm very happy in the direction I've gone. You know, so, you know, I had a lot of good advisors who said this. So what I did is I did the hypnotherapy, trained in that. And then I got a counseling diploma.
Right.
Then I went over to, I did NLP in the UK. And then I went over to America and trained with Dr. Tad James over there to become a trainer. And I loved it. It was like pure torture.
So I hear.
Well, it's what you want, isn't it? You don't want a course that is so easy that you think, I didn't learn anything here. You want something that really you feel is of great value to you. And David Shepherd also was the co-trainer on that one. And I thought it was one of the best training courses I've ever been on. Loads of pressure as well, because you're paying a lot of money to go over there and do that. You got to come out of it with a pass on you. You know, so I came out of that, and I love NLP. You know, to me, I love the A, B, C, D aspects. That really inspires me because I don't like beating around the bush. You know, and people who come to see us as therapists, they want a solution. They want something. And I think that's got to be very clearly in our mind. What does a client want?
Yeah.
They've got their life to live. And we really don't want to beat around the bush here. Let's go straight for that. So, I think my whole mindset just fits in very well with the NLP mindset. And when I came back to the UK, around about the same time, I came across the EFT, emotional freedom techniques. And I trained in that. And then I was one of a group of people who went over to America to Gary Craig's house, the man who developed it. He put on a special training course at his house for us.
Oh, wow.
It was lovely. It was very early days of EFT. And I remember us lifting the furniture around so we could kind of set it all up. It was very nice indeed. And later on, he developed a master's program of EFT because he wanted to identify who were true experts in EFT, because EFT is very easy to do. Emotional freedom technique, which is a form of tapping therapy, very easy to do, but there's an art and skill to being highly effective and getting results with it.
Right.
And so you see a lot of people were saying, oh, I do EFT, but they didn't really know the deeper stuff, because how can you know what you don't know?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And so I put myself forward to become a master, and that master was not a training program. That master was absolute torture. That was an evaluation program, and to even be able to put yourself forward to be tested to see if you were a master, you had to work. I can't remember the number of people you already had to work with at that point, whether it was 750 or 1,000 people at that point.
Yes,
a substantial
a lot.
People, yeah. Because practice makes perfect, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So I became an EFT founding master. I think there's 29 in the world. And, so I've always had an interest in very effective techniques. So EFT is highly effective. NLP is highly effective. And I tend to bring them together because they just slide together so perfectly. And, so when I do training courses in EFT, again, I taught a lot of NLP
as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But then what happened then is, as a therapist who's working with a lot of people, I actually, when you're working with people, you tend to get the more complex ones come. So you start off your business and all the easy ones come, yeah? And I think then the universe thinks, you get away with this. And these more complex people kept coming. And I thought, well, these people who've got these more complex issues, they want a result with this. And even though maybe there's a part of them fighting away, because we tend to get attached to our issues to some degree, don't we? Yeah. And if you go talking to that part that wants to keep it, you play a very shrewd game of chess there with that part, because they're experts at it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So I thought, well, how can I develop a technique that bypasses that? Yeah. Because there's a movie I watched years ago, and it's called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a brilliant movie, isn't it? But there's a bit in that one of the characters says, don't play the game. Don't play the game. And that always stuck in my head as a therapy thing, as in, don't play the game. Don't play your client's game.
Yeah.
They will run you ragged.
Yeah.
They want a result. So that's what they're looking for. They've told you what they want to achieve, but you have to, in a way, work around the blocks and things that they have going on that are stopping them achieve what they want. So I like a technique that kind of bypasses that in such a beautiful way. And with all my training as well, what I would say is I was always taught that the unconscious mind, subconscious mind knows everything. Yeah. And I love the concept, the idea of putting it in charge of what changes are needed to be made.
Yes. Yes.
Because I honestly don't believe or think of myself as the omnipotent person who knows what someone else should have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd much rather their system did that. Themselves, yeah. So that's when I developed the technique mindfulness-based inner repatterning. Now, there are two distinct ways of using this approach. One is a very simple one. It's a tapping technique. So it combines tapping psychology, but it equally uses a lot of NLP language models in there.
Right.
And, speaking to the unconscious, and also peripheral vision,
Okay. Yeah.
Learning state.
Because there's a whole plethora of bits and pieces being dropped into this particular way of
yeah, absolutely. Because what you're looking at is if a person's in fight or flight, and their body's not necessarily going to put the resources into rebooting itself. Yeah. So what we do in this technique at the very beginning is we take them out of fight or flight and bring them into what we call a safe state.
Right.
And the thing is, with your eyes, they're directly connected to your nervous system. And, say there was a noise behind me right now, and I was not familiar with that noise. What would happen is my eyes would go into a very tight vision and I would look around, and my body would be prepared to deal with whatever might be threatening to me. That's a normal reaction. Now, equally, if you bring your eyes into a more surround vision, which we're familiar with in NLP, aren't we? You come into a very different state. And it actually puts the body into a safe state. And you can be very present indeed, a safe state in which your body can reboot itself.
Okay.
So literally we swing the body into reboot mode, and very simply by working with how your body functions. And we use the mindfulness just to bring awareness to what the problem is, but we don't go into it. Don't need to talk about it, don't need to analyze anything like that. We don't need to do any of that because that
NLP content free.
Yes, it is a content free basically. I love process techniques, and so we do that. Using mindfulness, we bring awareness to how we know we have a problem. So images, thoughts, feelings, sensations, to keep a distance. Because you don't want a person to go straight into their nasty event or whatever. You want to keep it gentle, to keep them feeling safe. So just need a drink with that. I think I've never talked so much for a few days. But pulling it back, that's the first way we use this particular approach. And we get a lot of great results doing it that way. Some phenomenal results, for example, with grief and loss and beliefs and pain. Extraordinary. I'm not saying we always get results, and the reason why I say that is, as a scientist, unless I've worked with everyone, I wouldn't know the answer to that question.
Very true.
There's that just science aspect to me. However, we developed another model within the same approach, using the same mechanism and content free. Anything that's going on within us, we can consider that as a part of the program that we're running, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then what we can do is we can tap. We tend to tap on only one spot here. We don't do the EFT tapping. That's all over their face. And so this is a minimalist approach. So we tap nice and gentle. And then we invite the part of us responsible for this, whatever this is, to communicate with us.
Okay.
All right. And it doesn't need to, it could say bugger off for all I care, but it's communicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then generally we'll say invite the part to step out. It doesn't matter whether they do or don't really. And then what we do, bring awareness, mindful awareness to that part, and we let that part, we just ask it this very simple question: what does that part now need to communicate with you in order to allow this to heal?
Right.
And then when we get the communication, we don't analyze it, we don't attempt to understand it. We just say, all right, put that up outside of you. That's why you don't engage the conscious mind, you see. They would expect a very different way. And then what we do is we do bring the body into what we call heart coherence. So we really ramp up the positive state, both for the part of us that's running the problem and for the person, the adult client or whoever we're working with. And we really ramp up this positive state. Because, a lot of issues come from trauma, don't they, really? Or survival. And what I've always thought is, I had a conversation with Gary Craig once as well. He said the same. Love seems to be at the root of many a thing. So in a way, if, what we look at is we ask some really nice little questions and bring the body and that part into heart coherence. And it's just a very beautiful way of doing it. And what you tend to find is it begins to happen a connection rather than this separate part. Because we don't really want all these separate parts having a party in our head, do we really?
No. So that sounds like, so presumably that means that delegates will take away the actual, you were saying about the process, so that they will actually learn the process that combines all these different techniques, and take something very tangible away from your session.
Yes, because I want to do a demonstration on this. I will do a demonstration. I like to demonstrate because, you know, you can't just, I am talking about the process, so you're not getting the full idea of it. But, you know, generally we learn far better when we do it.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And you know, that'll make a huge difference. So I will be demonstrating that. And I might do a demonstration with quite a few people. I tend to like to do multi-demonstrations rather than one. Because you get different people, different experiences, isn't it?
Yeah.
And absolutely. I think, and that's very educational, because one person might respond a certain way, another person might have a different response.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And it's all what's happening, it's all relevant.
Yes.
And so
exactly.
It's absolutely fascinating, really.
Brilliant. So is there anything that delegates can do beforehand to give them a deeper experience during your session at the conference?
I was thinking, you know, if they're not familiar with tapping techniques, maybe they should have a little look at that.
Okay. Yeah? Is there somewhere you can recommend that they can go to look?
Well, I'm thinking EFT International has information on tapping there, or even my website, there is information on tapping there, which is TaniaAPrince.com.
Right. Okay. So just we'll make sure that everybody gets that information, so that if they want to, you know, do any specific preparations, they have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I only say that because, you know, I don't want. It's better for them not to be surprised on the day and think, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
it goes against their existing beliefs.
Yes.
And even with clients, I always get them to kind of educate themselves before they come, because I want them to have an understanding of these things. You know, these techniques, really, they just support the body's natural healing, and they're very powerful. So
yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, the NLP community tend to be a fairly curious bunch, so I think point them in the direction, and we'll all go and lift up and have a look and see what's there. So so it's lovely to have somewhere to point them to. Thank you. So I mean, obviously the conference this year, like next year in 2022, is in a virtual environment, the same as it was 2021. So how are you planning to add value in a virtual environment?
You know, I've done an awful lot of training courses in the virtual environment in the last 2 years. I mean, I do them almost every month. I'm sure. And I find I need to wipe my eyes. I think the makeup is dribbling into my eyes. Oh, that's it. Yeah. And you know, I've done loads of live training, and I love the buzz of it myself. And you know, in a live environment, you know, in the kind of a virtual environment, there's so many benefits in that. I'm thinking you're recording everything, and they can review afterwards.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. The delegates get 6 months access to all the recordings afterwards. So which is a wonderful opportunity to go back and just repeat things and have that. It's nice because then they can actually be in the moment, can't they? During your session, they can actually be in the moment.
Yeah, and I would recommend they do allow themselves to be in the moment, because you want, in a demonstration, you want the experience of doing the technique. I think afterwards is truly the time to learn it, because you know, when a person's been doing it a long time, what I've experienced is a lot of people look at that, oh yeah, dead easy, then they come to do it themselves and they go, what?
That looked really simple at the time.
Yeah, you know, but what they probably would forget is I've done it and done it and done it and done it and done it. And with that experience, it tends to make it look very easy. But you know, there are everything. If it's something new to you, there's always a learning curve on that, isn't there, really? You know, and so yeah, that will be the value of that, is it that they can review it later on.
Yes.
And have to slow it down and and get anything they need, really, you know.
Yes, I've done a few virtual courses, and that ability to be able to press pause, just so that when I've attended it live and then press pause, just check, rewind, check that bit again. It is such a blessing that we totally weren't aware of before the pandemic.
No, I think it's opened things up in a very good way. I mean, I have been to the live NLP conferences as well, and I loved that.
Yes.
I thought it was fabulous. But equally, I like these ones as well.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, different things, different ones.
Yeah. So as you've said, you have attended the conference before as a presenter. So what does the NLP International Conference mean to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of the one I went to in London. I mean, both were in London, but yeah, lovely people. Yeah. Lovely people, a vast amount of knowledge and a vast amount of experience and motivation to help people, you know, just very friendly. That's what I found. Very, very very inviting, very friendly, very inclusive, all of those things.
Yes. No, that's lovely, and I think that is a good reflection of the NLP community that gets involved with the conference. It's a beautiful set of people, and it's lovely that they can still do that in the virtual environment as well because of the app and everything. I think at this year's conference there were 18,000 messages exchanged over 3 days.
They like talking, don't they?
It's good. I mean, it's that connection that you know, and it's just a different form of connection. It didn't disappear just because it was virtual, which I think is lovely.
Yeah, I mean, I found it enables us to connect over such a distance, and there would be people maybe we would never have met before, and we're meeting them now, and you know, some fascinating things are happening, really very beautiful things.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, as I said, we're really looking forward to next year's conference, and everybody who's attending can attend Tania's session, which is taking place on Sunday the 22nd of May at 15:30. We'll be BST by then, back in the summer again, and it's a 90-minute presentation, so we're really looking forward to that, and we'll get tapping and checking out those resources beforehand. So thank you, Tania. It's been lovely to talk to you, and we really look forward to seeing you at the conference next year.
Thank you. I look forward to that. Thank you.